Hello and welcome to Bluebird Lane Creations. My name's Tiffany and it's time to get creative. Today I'm going to be making a stationery set. I am doing a voiceover recording because my sound did not work while I was filming. So bear with me here. We're looking at a graphic 45 paper pad. This is an 8x8 paper pad in which we're going to use to make our stationery set. I have these envelopes that my husband had found at an estate sale, and I decided to use these to put together the stationery set that we're going to look at today. Now I covered the back in a brown paper that was packaging from something I had ordered, and you can see me here just kind of seeing how the layout is going, how it's going to function when I hinge this, how this is going to open. And having backed all of those, we're going to go through putting the papers on the front and hinging these all together. So right now I'm looking to determine which one is my bottom piece and which one is going to be my top, front and center, which is the one we're looking at now. This one is important to me to have the washi tape somewhat even. And we're going to use washi tape to hinge the moving parts to this stationery set. I will be using art glitter glue to glue that down, as we all know that washi tape is notorious for not wanting to stay stuck down forever. And this washi especially has like zero stick to it. So we're just going to go ahead and put some glue down the side of the cover here. And then I'm gonna turn it when I put the tape on, because for me it's easier to lay that tape straight when it's going horizontal in front of me, as opposed to trying to put the tape straight going away from me. So this was just easier on my eyes to lay it down this way. And just trying to get this straight, because like I said, this is going to be my focal point, and we'll get that nice and stuck down. Now I am with this, it's going to be important because there is so many layers that are going to go into this. I want to make sure that I have a bit of a spacer. So I have this piece of junk mail, and it's thick. It's probably, if I had to guess, it's about the weight of like 120 to 130 pound cardstock. It's pretty thick, but not quite as thick as chipboard. And I'm just kind of gauging with my pencil where I want to cut that. I didn't feel like pulling out my big trimmer for this, so I just went ahead and took my scissors. It's going to be such a thin piece, it didn't really matter so much if it was perfectly straight. So I'm going to snip that off there, and then I am going to bring out my small trimmer, and we're going to trim just a thin strip. I thought about using the scissors, but then I thought better. I can't cut straight to save my life. So we're going to bring out our little Tim Holtz trimmer and get ourselves a little, this is probably 3/16 of an inch that we did here, a little more than an eighth. So I wanted to make sure to give it enough room when I fold over to allow all of the contents to be there and not have like a gator mouth effect. We don't want it pressing open. We just want it to fold over nice and flat. So I'm going to lay a bead of glue down here, and we'll go ahead and stick down that spacer. This is kind of like when you're junk journaling and you're putting a binding in. It's just a space so that the book folds over nicely. After getting that stuck down, I am going to go ahead and attach my other envelope to that washi tape to create the full hinge. And I did a bit of editing with this, as you'll see when we go through. I took an 1.5-hour video and cut it down to about 47 minutes. So you are going to notice here and there where I've skipped over a little bit of the steps, but just, you'll be able to know I usually skip over when it's repetitive. So if we're gluing, you know, one envelope down, I might skip over gluing the other, but just bear with me here and we'll see how this turns out. This is my very first voiceover, and this was quite the learning experience. My husband actually helped me figure out how to do this because I didn't quite know how I was going to voice over. So, all right, so there we go, skipping ahead. We've got all of our envelopes glued down to the washi tape with a spacer in between each side. And what I'm looking at doing now is the bottom piece. I'm going to use the same kind of spacer. It's about the same amount, about 3/16, and I'm gonna take, this is actually going to be my bottom piece to the whole stationery set, and everything will close and hinge over top of that. So I'm going to take a long piece of washi and go all along this bottom portion, and this is gonna, we'll end up folding some of these over, but this is going to create the hinge for the top to fold into itself and then onto the bottom piece. Now this was quite a large piece, so I'm actually feeling pretty lucky that my washi tape wasn't super sticky because, you know, when I go to tear it off, it could have definitely stuck to itself, and it didn't, so I was happy about that. And I'm just trying to line this up as best I can by, you know, eyeing it. It's not super imperative, but I did want it to look nice, so get that stuck down, and we'll kind of give it a flip over here and take a look. So you see that piece of washi is along the entire bottom of our project so far. And I'm looking at where that spacer is going to go. And we'll get a little, I just tore it instead of cutting. It's so little it didn't really matter. It's all going to be covered anyway. Get a little glue on there and we'll stick down our spacer. It's nice when we get to use pieces of our junk in junk journaling. You know, this is just a little stationary kind of folio, but it's nice to be able to use things that might have gone in the bin. So just making sure that that sticks and stays in place. And then what I'm going to do, before I glue on the bottom, I come back through here and just glue down the washi tape pieces that are going to cover the seams between the 3 envelopes at the top half of the project. So this is just, now that those spacers are glued down, we're putting the top piece of washi over it just to kind of clean it up and make it look nice. And that is where our stationery folio will bend at. Get that good and stuck down. Now I'm going to just on the same size as that middle envelope, I'm just going to put a bead of glue below our spacer, and I'm going to be gluing down the 4th envelope that we created for this. This is the actual bottom piece to our stationery folio. Now I'm snipping with the scissors up, and this is just going to allow me to fold that washi along the bottom up onto the right and left envelope. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue along the bottom, and then I'm going to fold that washi upward. And this will just give it a clean edge. We want the entire project to be outlined with this washi, just it'll make it look very cohesive, and it'll really give it that finished look. I skipped ahead and we covered the left side as well, and now I'm just looking to cover the spacer between the top and the bottom piece there. Get a little glue on that. right. So we'll get this as straight as I can. I probably should have my project more straight up and down, but I wanted to make sure it was in view for you guys, so I just had it kind of turned a bit there. Now that little piece right there that's not covered will be fine because our paper is actually going to cover all of that, and we're also doing washi down the sides. So definitely getting a ton of glue on my hands. My fingers look like they are peeling. It's disgusting. But just kind of checking the functionality, making sure everything's folding and closing as I had planned. And I'm just going to flip it over here, and we're going to get our washi tape and get these edges, get this washi tape folded over the rest of these edges here. And I appreciate you guys bearing with me with my first voiceover. Definitely a learning experience. I was so disappointed when I went to edit and noticed that there was no sound after recording for an hour and a half. It's probably the biggest disappointment ever. So we're making do. And now I know how to do the voiceover if I ever have to do it in the future. So, all right, we're going to jump ahead just a little bit. We outlined all those edges, and we're just going to get another strip along the bottom here. And this is going to finish off that. This is the actual bottom that we're looking at right now. This will be the part that will, this brown part will sit down on the desk, facing away from you. So no one's going to really see this, but I still want it to look nice. And you could always go back and put on the bottom like your little signature or something if you have a crafty name, or, you know, like my Bluebird Lane Creations. That's where I would put my little sticker, you know, just saying that I'm the artist that put this together. And I encourage you guys to do that, especially if you make stuff for other people, because oftentimes as crafters, you know, we go back and pull something out to use. You know, if you've made embellishments and you've sent them my way, I try to put them in plastic bags with people's names on them so that I can remember who they came from. But sometimes, you know, if it's a project that can have a sticker on the back, it's helpful if someone puts just a little something with their name on it. It definitely makes it easier to give you credit for it and send people your way. All right. We're going to be hitting 800 subscribers here soon, and I am going to be doing a giveaway. I wanted to do a giveaway at 500, but I was doing my 300 subscriber giveaway, and I jumped like 200 people in 1 week, and it was before I even mailed out the 300 subscriber giveaway. And so, and I wanted to include international in the next giveaway, so it's taking a little bit of extra thought on how and what I'm doing. I think I have a plan for that. So I look forward to kind of announcing something real soon. I hope that if you guys are watching this, I hope that you will be watching future videos, because I think that instead of advertising a giveaway, you know, for the sake of just getting subscribers or people who are searching for giveaways, I think I want to really reward the people that are watching and following my videos. It's been so special to me, and so I really want to make sure that you know, the people that are taking time to watch and comment and such will be the ones kind of seeing those things. So I might hide it in there, so just kind of look for it. And what else? There was something else that I was gonna mention. Boy, I just keep forgetting things. I just thought when we're gluing down all this washi, I'd be able to tell you. But let's go ahead and skip ahead. So we've got all of our washi on here, and everything is done. Now what I'm going to do is just to take a little measurement to see what these envelopes are measuring, so I can kind of gauge what size I want my liner papers to be. This ends up being 7 1/4 by 4 7 1/4 by 4 3/4 is what I end up wanting to cut the papers. So it was actually 7 1/2 by 5, and I reduced by 1/4 of an inch. I made some paper selections on the prints out of this Graphic 45 paper pack that I wanted to utilize in this. Things that I thought really looked, I'm going to say romantic together. You know, it's Valentine's Day. A little romance never hurt. So I've got some paper selections here. And then what I'm going to do is, and I won't make you watch all of them get cut down. I did have to bring out my big trimmer because my other one doesn't quite go to the 7 1/4 inch that I wanted that to go to. It only goes to 6. So just getting this trimmed down. I tried to trim a little bigger, and then I go back and trim down because when there's words involved, and I kind of want them to look a little more centered. And I went ahead and cut the other ones off screen. Now I'm just kind of testing the functionality, making sure everything's holding together good, making sure all those bindings are in place and glued down tight. And then all I'm going to do is come in here and glue each of my papers down. I do a little layout first to make sure everything's right side up, and nothing worse than gluing something on upside down. And seeing what that layout looks like that I'm wanting to happen. And I think that's the look I'm going for there. So I'm going to skip ahead here, and I glued the top 3 down. I'm just inking around the edge of the lighter colored ones, getting some of that walnut stain distress ink on there. I really love the look of this walnut stain, especially on these kind of vintage papers. I had used the vintage photo for a while, and then Tanya at Tatty Treasure and Friends, well, she's Tatty Treasure on YouTube, Tatty Treasure and Friends on Facebook, and she had mentioned that, you know, everybody uses the vintage photo, and that she had tried to switch to the walnut stain to kind of switch it up a bit. And so, you know, of course, if Tanya does it, I want to do it. That's how it works, right? We see people and we're like, oh, I'm going to try that. So I went ahead and gave it a try. Been using it on a few projects here and there. It kind of depends on, you know, what the color of the project is as to what distressing on the edges and what color I'm going to use for that. So these are our backing papers, and I'm just getting those good and covered with, I am using the art glitter glue. Paper to paper, I almost always go with art glitter glue. It sticks really well, and it sticks fast, so it's not like I'm going to accidentally slide the paper out of place if I bump it. So now I want to create a couple of tucks and pockets and such. So right now I am creating a pocket that is going to be where my stationery papers are going to be tucked into. So this is on the bottom piece, is where the stationery papers are going to be tucked, and I'm just going to kind of distress the top of the pocket so it's not quite so cut straight and smooth. And then I will ink around those edges. I just don't want that white core to show, so I definitely want to get some ink on there. Sometimes when you distress it like that, it's hard to get the ink down in all of the pores of the paper, all the fibers. Pores. You know what I mean. As long as I get the point across, does it really matter what words I use? Cough, waffle sauce, cough. If anybody saw, I accidentally called syrup waffle sauce one day because I like to just make up my own words, because I'm one of those people that can really sound confident even if they don't know what they're talking about, and so that's one of my little talents. So, you know, if I say, can you pass me that waffle sauce? You know, I still get the point across, you know what I mean? But I just, you know, in my older age, I gotta have some fun with it. I forget things. So, you know, if I come up with creative things like waffle sauce, I mean, how much more fun can being forgetful be? All right, so I have some contrasting papers here. It's not a huge contrast, but I really liked the pink flowers in this that are kind of in the corner, and just making sure that that's even, as this will be noticeable if it's not. So just, you know, double check everything before you glue it down, make sure that it's the right size. Now I wanted to create a little belly band for the top center, and I was looking for contrasting paper on this. I thought I was going to use the black, but then I decided not to. I liked this other piece, and I was flipping back and forth here because I really thought about the black, and then I thought it's just too much black. Later I end up using black anyway, and it would have been fine, but it works out, and I think that the selection was good. I did decide to put this off center. I felt like I liked the look just a little bit better. Sometimes when you do something small like that, just moving something off center, it actually keeps the eye there a little bit longer, because it not being symmetrical will almost trick your eyes into thinking something's wrong, but it's not wrong. It's interesting. It's something is bringing your eyes interest, and having that not centered, I think, was a good way to do that. Now, here's where I did end up using some of the black, and mostly because I wanted to use papers that I already had cut up instead of pulling out other large sheets. So I did make use of what I had on hand there with my leftover scraps, and I'm just doing a little distressing, the same as we did at the bottom pocket that's going to hold the stationery sheets. These little pockets are going to hold some little ephemera bits. I found some, I'm trying to think what the company that made the ephemera bits that we're going to put in here is called Blossom Paper Art on Etsy. I found it's just a single sheet, and I can't remember what it cost offhand, but it was a single sheet of pink, kind of pink ephemera, vintage ephemera pieces. My husband was lovely enough to sit in here as I was preparing for my video, and he printed them off for me, one regular size and one, basically we just shrunk it down, and then he cut all of those out for me to use in my project today. So I'm just getting, so the bottom pocket here, I made a little larger of a pocket, and you know, these could even hold, like, in the future, if you use the items and you want to refill, you could put little sticky notes or little page flags, or, you know, you could really put anything in here that works for you and how you like to write. You know, maybe if you have something like this and you gift it to someone, let them know that when they're done, you know, refill it and send it on to someone else, or keep it and reuse it. And I made the top pocket a little bit of a smaller size. Again, this is another trick on the eyes, a little interest. The pockets being two different sizes is going to draw some interest to that, because they're not the same. So, and as I'm filling the pockets, I do, let me think here, maybe I go, okay, I'm not filling them yet. It looks like I am going to make the other envelope first before I put everything in, which is just fine. I just forgot. And this is the fun in voiceover. So what I'm cutting down here is, this was an idea that I had. I actually wanted to make a book that was a tag book, and what it was going to be was basically the tags would be dangling in the book from a sandwiched piece of paper at the top, like across the top, and the little ribbons or strings or whatever would be glued between the sandwiched paper. And when you wanted one of the tags in the book, you snipped it out. You're going to see what I mean here in a minute, But I've had this idea for a while, and instead of doing a large project like that, I wanted to see how it worked first, how easy it was going to be. And so I thought, well, this would be a great project. I know you don't typically use a tag when you're sending someone a stationery letter. However, if you were wanting to write a little letter to go with a gift, I mean, there's certainly an option. I'm just putting 3 tags in, so it's not a substantial amount. But it's definitely going to be a cute addition. So I'm just cutting out some little tags. I believe these tags were 2 inches wide and 3 inches tall, and I just cut down the edges. Once I had the first one done to the way that I liked it, I cut the other 2 just to match, so that I didn't have any, you know, that were off-centered or didn't look right. I apologize for my throat is a little hoarse this morning, so. Now I'm going to bring out my little crocodile, and we're using our small punch on this. I'm going to be, my setting is C3 because these are going to be pretty tiny eyelets, and I'm going to set my hole punch. I set it at 1/8 of an inch, and I wish I had gone 1/4 because I was a little close to the edge. When I crimped the eyelet, it just kind of made that top part look a little wonky, and it's also because my paper isn't super thick. And I think that, you know, after this project was done, I wanted to go back, and on the bottom of the tags I was going to put a little strip of coffee dyed paper, so there was like a really clean place to put like a to and from, or just even writing someone's name on there, whatever you wanted to do. So I will probably go back and do that off screen. Now I'm picking my eyelets out, which I always open this little case upside down, and they always go everywhere, and this was no exception. Although I didn't drop them everywhere, I'm getting used to cupping my hand underneath to catch them. Pulled out 3 of kind of like a brass color. We have all kinds of metal in this project. You'll see at the end what I put on the front cover. So. And I won't make you sit here and watch me punch all of them. I'm just going to do 1, and then I'll skip ahead a little bit. So I'm just putting my eyelet in there, and I always fumble these things. And again, the setting is on C3, and I'm just going to go ahead and give that a squeeze. We'll go ahead and skip ahead here. Now I got this ribbon out that I had found in an estate sale and cut a little piece off. This is flat, so it'll lay under the sandwiched paper pretty nicely. And I went ahead and just threaded my tags. I end up using just kind of a square knot, which is basically knotting one direction, and then, so when you cross over to knot one direction, when you go to knot the second time, you cross it over the opposite way. So that's, I just thought that it would lay nicely. You could do a loop through where you fold your lace in half, push it through the hole, and then pull the ends through that loop. That would have worked in this situation too, but for that kind of shabby chic look, I wanted to go ahead and put a knot in there. So there's one. I'm going to skip ahead here, and what I'm doing is I'm just going to lay my paper there, kind of showing you guys how you'd be able to cut it out. Now I've got my 3 tags made, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay them down on the page kind of where I'd like them to dangle. And I'm just kind of positioning those. It was a little tricky because these are a little big, but I didn't want to go much smaller. I could have, certainly could have, or you could do like different shapes, you know, have a circle one and a tag shape one, and maybe even an oval or something. So I'm laying them down to see where the lace is going to fall under that paper, and I'm just trimming them a little bit because I don't want it hanging out the top at all. So I'm trimming that down, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black that paper that is going to go on top, and I remove that, leaving all of the lace in place there. And then I'm just going to use a little bit of Fabri-Tac, and I'm just going to put a little bead down and just barely tack the tips of the tips of this lace in place to hold it flat so that I can put that top piece on there. So just on each one, tack that top piece down. All right. It's a little tricky because Fabri-Tac, when you pull away, sometimes the little strings catch things and want to move. So I had a little struggle here of it wanting to stick to me or the bottle. I had so much glue on my fingertips at this point. I'd like to be one of those people that gets my nails done and looks beautiful, and maybe I will one day. I mean, not that my hands aren't beautiful anyway, but someone's going to say, you have beautiful hands anyway. But, when you have the nails done, they look so nice. And I like watching people work like that, but I marvel at the fact that they can work and not get glue all over their fingernails. And maybe they do, maybe it wipes off, I don't know. So now I am using Fabri-Tac again for gluing the strip of paper down that's going to go over top of the lace that's laying flat here. Had a little trouble getting my Fabri-Tac moving, had a little bit of a clog in there, so had to get that out. And now I'm just laying down some Fabri-Tac. I want a decent amount on here. I'm not like overdoing it where it's going to ooze out the sides. But, I wanted a fair amount to grip all of the lace that's going to be under my paper here. So I'm going to go ahead and lay that down. And what you get is you get these 3 dangling tags with enough space to where if you snip that with a pair of scissors close to where that paper is, where the black paper is, then you'll immediately have a loose tag that that you can use in a project or on a gift or anything. So I just thought that was a really cool, fun idea, and I probably will at some point make a tag book to send to my crafty pen pal or somebody, and it'll have all the little dangling tags, and it will be able to fold away. I just thought it was, I don't know, just a really cool idea. So now I've got my coffee dyed papers. I think I did about 5 of them, and what I'm going to do is bring in a scrap piece of packaging paper, and I'm going to do a little stenciling on each one. I've got this Tim Holtz, it's kind of like a filigree, I don't remember the name of this stencil, but I'll try to put it in the description. And I'm just taking my Kitsch Flamingo Distress Oxide. It's a lighter, little bit lighter than Distress ink. The Distress Oxide ink, and I'm using my blending tools here and just getting a little bit of pink in the bottom left corner of the stationery. So this first one turned out a little bit darker than I was wanting to go for, so I went in with a lighter hand on my others. I do keep that one, I just, we tuck it to the bottom. And there's nothing wrong with it, it's just a little darker pink. And it does pick up the pinks in the design, so now on this one, like I said, I just went in with a little bit lighter hand. If I did go a little heavier, it was in the very bottom corner and then getting lighter and lighter as I'm moving towards the center of the paper. So we do that a few more times here, just taking our coffee dyed paper to another level. So, part of stationery is that the paper tends to have a little design or just something small. It doesn't have to be extra. It just has to be pretty. Something that makes it kind kind of unique and beautiful and special, some flair. So we're just giving our paper a little kitsch flamingo flair. Thanks for bearing with my drinking my beverage through this. My throat is thanking you as well. So I think this is the last one, and you'll see off to the right I have 2 coffee dyed envelopes that I made out of coffee dyed paper. And I'll show you those. I made these with the 123 punch board by We Are Memory Keepers, and sometime I can show a little tutorial if that's something that you're interested in. But basically it makes envelopes, it makes bows, and it makes boxes. Super handy. It's got all the measurements inside the opening there, and it even has an extra sheet if you go by centimeters, so you can replace your measurements with that sheet and have what you need at hand. It's a very handy tool because you can make envelopes for any size project. So I'm going to tuck my 2 envelopes into my belly band. It's a nice snug fit, which is perfect. They won't fall out. And we'll get my stationery pages tucked into our pocket at the bottom. And hopefully my tags are dry. We're going to pull out the little ephemera bits that I have. Like I said, all these little ephemera pieces that my husband cut out for us today are from Blossom Paper Art on Etsy. It was just a 1 sheet that came up as a suggestion, and I was like, oh, that's perfect for what I'm doing today. So I grabbed that. Now I like, I'm just trying to stagger these in there and come up with a layout that I like. And I like to use odd numbers. Odd numbers attract the eye. And so, you know, instead of 3, I decided to go for 5. And I'm just trying to really see how I want them to tuck into the pocket to best be presentable. And I fiddle with things just a little bit. I decide that, so this one has birds on it, and I do decide that I want the birds to be showing. And what I thought was hilarious is that there's birds, the birds and the bees, which I thought was funny because, so that little one in front has a little beehive on it and the one in the back has the birds. I found this really funny because we're working with the Valentines. It's like love letters that you could write, and then you've got ephemera that's birds and bees. LOL. So funny. Okay, maybe it's just me. So I am sorry that I'm off screen at the top here, but again, I'm just finding 5 little ephemera pieces to tuck into our smaller pocket so that we have different size ephemera available to whoever ends up with this stationery pack here. So indecisive. I think it's, you know, I'm probably talking about something through this whole thing, but when you come back and do a voiceover, it's like, what were you doing that's taking you so long? Gosh, Tiffany. Just hurry along here. So I thought I'd spend a little time kind of decorating, and I found this little sticker of this lady. I probably got that either off of Amazon or maybe even AliExpress at some point. I don't really shop at AliExpress anymore. I mean, I do, but there's shops that I trust, and then there's ones that don't. And really, ultimately, AliExpress kind of supports a lot of people that likes to steal people's designs, and they don't get rid of those companies from selling on their site when they are reported. And so a lot of folks, at least in the card making world, pretty much boycotted places like AliExpress and Shein in all of these places. So I really try, you know, not to shop there unless there's no other option. And then, like I said, there's a couple of companies that I know are good companies, and I hate to just not shop with them because they use AliExpress, but if I can find it on Amazon, I do go there first. I mean, first I go to my craft shop, then I buy off of Etsy, then I look on Amazon, then I might go somewhere else. So that's my path. Now I'm just kind of looking how everything looks, checking out my dangly tags, closing up my ephemera, seeing how it all folds because I wanted to make sure it's flat, and it is. And I felt so excited when I closed this up right here, and it was exactly how I had pictured, because it's so difficult sometimes to envision how it might turn out. Now I have this beautiful sticker for the front of this, and again, this was probably something off of either Amazon or AliExpress at some point. I truly don't remember exactly where this image came from. Sometimes we just get a bunch of stuff and it's in our stash forever, and then you just can't remember. So you just have to look around for like vintage photo stickers or vintage vellum stickers or things like that. Put in little keyword searches and try to come up with something that you like. So I'm just trying to get that in a good place. Now there was no movement on this because it's a sticker and I had glue. The glue gave me just a little, maybe half a second of movement time, but really there's nothing. It was stuck down where it was placed. So what I'm doing next is I want to put a little bit of lace at the bottom. I just thought that'd really give it that shabby chic look. I had this lace in my scrap lace bin, and so I pulled that out. We're going to cut a little bit off of it. I did want to remove the binding to the lace. That binding, I didn't want it real ruffled down there. So this one, unfortunately, the binding doesn't tear out of at all. It's not an easy tear. So I did end up just cutting that away. And I'm just straightening it all out so it'll lay pretty flat on there. We're going to snip that to size. And because we are putting a material down, I do pull out my Fabri-Tac for this job. I find that gives just a little bit of movement to slide it into place, but it really has a good hold on the lace afterwards. Plus then you've got your edges that are sticking up, and you can kind of fluff those out a little bit. And yeah, the Fabri-Tac is my favorite for gluing down the lace. So I'm probably going to go back and do a number of little embellishments on this project afterwards, but for the sake of time, I didn't do everything that I would normally do. Like I might take some gilding and kind of put it around the edges of the picture and give it a little shine and things like that. But for the sake of filming, I didn't do that here because it's such a big project all on its own, and I wanted to save on time a little bit. So just getting that lace into place and kind of giving it a little bit of time to set before I start my next part. I have this seam binding that I got at a local craft place. This lady makes her, coffee stained seam binding, and it's pre-crinkled and everything. So I had this little metal plate from Tim Holtz. Just says, has the number 7891 on it. I fed the seam binding through the two little holes, and this is going to be kind of an embellishment for the front, and I'm just going to do a wrap around. So I started with my plate in the front, and I'm going to wrap the ribbon around my project for holding it together. This is going to hold together with a bow. So I'm just kind of off-centering my metal, coming around it one way and then the other, and then I'm gonna snip off the piece that I need in order to tie a bow here. Just giving myself enough to work with. I know some people tie the bow with the rest of it still attached, and there's a way to save. but my stuff doesn't go to waste anyway, because if I have the little bits and pieces, they go into a different container, and then I will reuse those in other embellishments or clusters, things like that. So now I'm just adjusting the opening here to look the way I want it to look. I did make a little dangly that I wanted to have on here. That dangle consists of a little flower. That flower did come from AliExpress at some point, probably 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't know if they still have them, or where you'd find that particular flower at. But it dangles upside down, which I really like. The little charm on there that says love, I was gifted from my local Buy Nothing group. I've talked about that before. It's just a neighborhood group. It's available in most places, and it's just your neighbors kind of giving away things and you gifting to them as well. I originally put the dangle on the right hand side, and then I said, that's not where I want it. And I move it over to the left side below the bow, which I think is a much better location. And looking at our project, it is coming to the end here. I do want to, you know, I'll put pictures, the finished pictures up, but I am going to go ahead and open this one more time with you guys so that we can take a look at the finished project. I think this turned out super special. I'm in love with it. It's one of those things that I might hold and look at for a little bit before I give it away. We'll see. This might go to someone really special. So anyway, we'll take this off here. We'll do a little flip through. So it flips up and away from you. And then those two pieces fold out, which I might decorate this piece that you're seeing here. I might decorate at the bottom on the pocket, and also that other brown piece of paper. But everything folds out. Got your dangly tags, love, your belly band with your envelopes, and all your little ephemera pieces. Is this not fantastic? I'm in love with it. It was a fun project. Overall, it took me about an hour and a half. I did edit it down to, I think it was 47 minutes or something for this video. So I want to thank you guys all for being here. Thanks for tolerating my voiceover. If you are still here, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.